Alrighty guys, how's it going? Welcome to this episode of Aussie English. Let's see. So, I just had a bit of trouble there at the start. I thought, you know, it's going to be a great opportunity right now to go outside, go for a walk, have a listen to the crows in the background, and do a Walking with Pete episode. But as soon as I went out the door, I realised that it was windy as can be. It was blowing a gale. In fact, it is blowing a gale. And so I had to put the microphone on the inside of my jumper so that it wasn't getting a bunch of wind noise and you could actually hear what I was saying. So here we are. Oh, a lot's happened, guys. A lot's happened in the last, I don't know, it's probably been months since I've actually done a literal Walking with Pete episode where I'm out and about actually walking as opposed to at my desk sharing thoughts about the world. But a lot's changed. I'm currently living in a suburb called Curlewis, and it's not bad. It's pretty nice. It's pretty, safe. Just normal suburbia in Australia, though, to be honest. All the houses look the same. They've all been pretty much built by those housing companies in Australia like Metricon, which are these sort of housing companies that you buy a plot of land in a new residential area, and then you sort of contact one of these companies that, I guess they have a bunch of architects that put up, say 20 different plans for different houses that you can get online, and then they know all of the builders, the plasterers, the electricians, the plumbers, and they organise building the entire house for you. And so it's a cheap and effective way of getting a house in Australia. The problem is that a lot of the time it's built in a bit of a shoddy manner, not a very good quality manner. So you have things breaking down and, bits of, I don't know, plaster falling off the walls, that sort of stuff, I imagine. Quite a lot compared to if you lashed out your own money, or a lot more of your own money, on your own architect and builders and everything like that. The only trade-off there is that you got to spend a lot more money. I'm walking too quickly. I'm going to lose my breath. So anyway, I thought I would jump on here today and just have a bit of a yarn with you guys. Tell you what I've been up to. Had some good news this morning. I was putting in some bids on a lens on eBay, a lens for the camera, and to share a bit of the trouble that I have at times with trying to create content for you guys. I recently set up the new studio, as you know, right? So I bought a bunch of these blinds and went through trouble there trying to find the right blind to have as a backdrop so that I had a dark wall kind of color behind me. I could then film with colored light behind me and it would just look a little more professional, right? So I was working my bum off, studying up on how to build a good studio, get the correct lights, the kind of angle you need to put the lights on to make sure it looks professional. There's a whole art to it, really. And then, having backlighting so that you separate yourself from the background. You can have a darker background, but you can also have light behind you so that it looks nice. Anyway, so I had to work out all of that sort of stuff. Where am I going with this story? And so I bought all this stuff and set the studio up, and it was working amazingly. It looked beautiful. Positioned the lights, got the right backdrop for myself, got myself in the right position, moved the furniture around, got rid of the bookshelves, positioned the desk in a good spot, everything like that. The only trouble was when I came to actually film myself, because now I had completely blacked out the room with this backdrop, with these blinds that I'd bought, it was very low light. And so photographers here will know where I'm going with this. The lenses that I had weren't fast enough, meaning they didn't have a low enough f-stop to allow enough light into the lens to hit the sensor so that when I'm filming at low light, the quality is really good and you can see me well. So, I mean, the long story short is that the lenses I had could work, but the images, the video that I was recording was incredibly grainy and just looked horrible. So I only had one lens. I had one lens, a nifty 50, for those of you who are photographers. This is a 50mm prime lens that has a very low f-stop of, I think it's 1 point something, it might be 1.4 or 1.8. And so it lets a lot of light in. The only problem is it's fixed. You can't zoom in, you can't zoom out. It's just 50mm. And on the camera that I have, again, sort of getting into the jargon, it's not a full frame camera, it's a crop sensor camera. So effectively the 50mm becomes an 85mm camera, and so you're effectively even closer to the subject because of the way that the camera works with the lens. Okay, sorry to all of you guys who aren't photographers. That was probably a very bad explanation as well, but that's effectively the problem I had. So when I set this camera up, it works really well, but I have to put it at the complete opposite end of the room to be able to get pretty much just my shoulders and head in the frame. And so there's not enough, I can't push the camera far enough away from myself to actually get enough of me in the frame to put text on the screen. So that was the problem that I sort of had. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to work out what to do with getting a better lens. Either I need to have more light in the room and I can use the lenses that I've got, or I have to buy a new lens and I can film with less light in the room, as long as it's a faster lens that allows more of the light that's in the room into the camera, onto the sensor, to get a better quality image. So I did a lot of research, and today, well, a few days ago, I got on eBay and found someone selling the lens that I was after. And again, for any of the photographers out there, it was a Sigma 18 to 35mm f1.8 art lens. So effectively, very fast lens, f-stop of 1.8 lets a lot of light into the camera, and it can go between 18 and 35mm, which on a crop sensor camera is something like 24 to 50, I think, thereabouts. So in other words, I've got a lens now. I got on eBay, I found this lens, I bid on it. It's the first time I've ever actually bid on anything on eBay. Go figure, right? I ended up winning, saving about $300 on the lens if I were to walk into a store and buy it for, brand new. So fingers crossed when it arrives this week, it's in good condition. That's the crapshoot that you sort of get into, I guess, with buying stuff off eBay. You just hope that the person's selling what they're actually saying they're selling. So we'll get that, but ultimately it'll allow me to film at low light. It'll allow more light into the camera, so it'll be a higher quality image. I won't have to boost the ISO as high, so it won't be grainy. And because it's a zoom lens and it's got a lower millimeter focal length, 18mm, not focal length, because it's got 18mm, man, I'm having a brain freeze day. Because it goes down to 18mm, I effectively can get more image into, well, it's a wider image, so I can get more in. I'll be able to see everything behind me, I'll have more space, everything like that. So I'm really happy I got this lens. I can't wait to see how it's going to go. And the sort of other side of it is that it's going to be really good for landscape photography if I go out and about and do that. So that takes me to the second part of this episode, where my mum's birthday is coming up at the end of May. And my parents, for their birthdays, like to sort of go away to different places around Australia. So, well, sometimes overseas, but obviously because of COVID, that is an impossibility at the moment. At least if you want to come back anytime soon. Ooh, this person's growing strawberries in their front yard. That's pretty cool. So, anyway, so my parents have decided to go to Phillip Island, which is on the other side of Port Phillip Bay in Victoria here. So it's on the way to Wilson's Promontory. If you guys have been down to Victoria and you know the sort of geography of the place, it's on the other side near French Island. You'll know it if you've gone to see the penguin parade, the fairy penguins in Victoria in Australia. That's on Phillip Island. There's seals there, there's sharks there, there's some great beaches there. So we're going to go there. It's where my mum did a lot of her PhD work when she was studying barnacles, of all things, back at university in the 70s. And I think my dad was also there studying mussels. So these guys were, both my parents were marine biologists back in the day. And they did a lot of field work down there at Phillip Island. In fact, I think that's when my dad proposed to my mum. So yeah, it's a bit of a significant spot in the history of my family, particularly for my parents, obviously. So they've rented a house through Airbnb down there. I think it's got like 4 bedrooms. And they're getting my sister and her family to come down. They're obviously going to be there. I'm going to be there with Kel and my family too. And I think potentially our grandparents are going to come down as well at some point to say g'day and hang out. They live in Melbourne. So where I'm getting to with this is that we're going to be going down there, and I'll be able to use the lens potentially because, as you'll know, my dad's a bit of a photographer. He loves his landscape and wildlife photography. So I might have to get some lessons from him in terms of doing landscape photography. That's not really my jam. That's not really what I'm good at doing with photography. I'm much more focused on sort of animals and everything. So, sorry, I'm walking up a hill at the moment. So that's going to be really interesting. The other thing to mention here is that I'm thinking of redoing things inside the academy where I'm going to try and structure some modules that come out once a month, where I create a module in the academy. I talk about a certain cultural or historical feature of Australia, or theme about Australia. Say, for instance, the fairy penguins at Phillip Island. Then I interview someone about that topic or something related to that topic and create content related to that. So I'm looking forward to going to Phillip Island, and hopefully we're going to vlog the fairy penguin parade so that you'll be able to see what that's all about, because it's pretty cool. I think the fairy penguins are the smallest penguins in the world, and they have a colony, I think the biggest colony in Australia, at Phillip Island. So you can go there and sit on the beach and watch the penguins come in at, I guess it'd be sunset, probably just after sunset. Because they usually go out during the day, they go fishing, hunt all these fish in the water, and then come back in during the evening, and they'll come back up and go in their burrows and then feed their chicks. So looking forward to doing that. Oh, all right, at the top of the hill. Whew. Running out of breath. Anyway, the reason I might be doing more of these episodes soon is because I'm trying to get my 10,000 steps in every single day to lose a bit of weight. So I've been spending a lot of time outside walking around, and yeah, it's been good. I thought initially, you know what, I'll work out and I'll do lots of strength training and hopefully that'll help me lose weight. But to be honest, it helped me gain weight in that I was putting on a lot of muscle and eating a lot, but not losing a lot of fat. So I ended up gaining weight because of the muscle. So yeah, anyway, long story short, I'm walking now 8 to 10 kilometers a day. So hopefully there'll be more episodes like this in the future. Anyway, I am almost at Woolworths, at good old Woolies. I'm about to grab some strawberries for my wife and children, as they tend to love strawberries. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope the wind wasn't too annoying, and I hope we do this more often. Anyway, thanks for joining me, guys, and I'll chat to you soon. See you later.